Okay, the 49ers have just wrapped up their final practice before training camp. Spring ball is in the books, and the best play today, and a good note to end on, was Brock Purdy fading away from pressure, rolling a little bit to his left. He threw an absolute dime, dropped one in a bucket for Deebo Samuel running a corner route about 30 yards downfield. And it was a total vibe today. Pearsall, 49ers rookie receiver, was in on the play too. I think he was lined up in the slot. Deebo was on the outside. So Pearsall was near the reception, which was right, just perfectly in bounds. Deebo got 2 feet in. He beat Samuel Womack. Pearsall was pumped up, and he celebrated with Deebo Samuel over on the sideline. That had been one of the false narratives about all of this. Oh, Deebo must be so upset. He must hate Pearsall because the 49ers drafted a receiver in the first round. These guys, it seems they get along really well on the field. There were a couple instances today where they're giving each other high fives. Just good camaraderie from the 49ers. That was one of the themes today. Deebo Samuel was talking to Kyle Shanahan for a long time during warm-ups. They were over on the sideline, but the 49ers had an all-pro summit going on today at practice. Trent Williams was back. He missed yesterday due to the graduation of his daughter. So Trent was out on the field, and he started talking to Nick Bosa, who was doing some working out over on the side. And then they were joined by Christian McCaffrey, who obviously signed his contract yesterday. Brandon Aiyuk, he was doing OTAs on his own. I'll tack on a video that Aiyuk posted on social media of him running some routes in an undisclosed location. So Aiyuk is going to be fined for not being here today, probably around $35,000, $17,000 for yesterday. We'll obviously see how that progresses moving into the offseason and then in the training camp. But out of the all-pros that were there, that was a little summit that happened, and I'm sure you've already seen the video that I tweeted. That happened in the middle of the field, or I guess I would say, the middle of the field, the southeastern or the southwestern field of practice. Then they moved over to the southeast field of practice, and for practice, and that was the 11-on-11 session. That was where John Lynch, this was the second summit. John Lynch normally watches from center field because a 15-year safety, Hall of Fame safety. He likes that viewing angle that's familiar to him from his playing days. Talanoa Hufanga, Jair Brown, 2 49ers safeties, Diamara Lenore and Charvarius Ward, 2 49ers cornerbacks, joined John Lynch, who's normally alone watching from that center field position. None of those guys practiced, so they were able to watch with Lynch, and we actually asked Talanoa about it later, and he said that you get some good Hall of Fame caliber advice and nuggets from John Lynch as practice is happening from that angle. So Hufanga's trying to be a sponge, right? He's recovering from the torn ACL right now. He's trying to glean as much information as he can mentally. He's trying to watch tape, and he said today that the goal is to be back for week 1. That doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be back for the start of training camp. He's going to have to make sure that he plays it smart over the course of the next several weeks before training camp, and then in late July, once that finally does start, to make sure that he's not trying to rush ahead of himself. I've noticed that Talanoa seems a little bit bulkier than before in a good way. It seems like he's built some muscle in the upper body. Obviously, he says he's around the same weight right now, but the lower body may have to catch up a little bit because he has been undergoing ACL rehab. But it's certainly going to be interesting to see him return to the field, and he's doing all that he can, and he has been doing all that he can while rehabbing to make sure that he stays ahead of the curve. And one of the things you can do is watch practice with John Lynch. So total vibe at practice for the 49ers today between that Purdy throw to Deebo Samuel and obviously the 2 summits that I was able to witness on the field. The bad today at practice, I thought that Josh Dobbs, he's in the competition with Brandon Allen to be the 49ers backup quarterback. He's struggled a little bit with the feathered intermediate throws that Brock Purdy's so damn good at. And these are difficult throws. People don't appreciate just how phenomenal Purdy's accuracy has been on these throws. Today, though, one had to get up over the linebacker in front of a safety, and Dobbs just missed Deebo Samuel running over the middle of the field. And I have to say that QB2 battle is probably going to be primarily decided by who's most consistent with those types of throws over the middle of the field. And Purdy does them so well. The timing and the anticipation is so good that at QB2, you want the most seamless transition in case Purdy does miss some time. So I think between Allen and Josh Dobbs, the focus on the intermediate portion of the field is going to be absolutely critical. Allen also threw an incompletion over the middle of the field, but this might have been more Ronnie Bell's fault. It was a heater from Brandon Allen, but he had to zip one in there so it would fit in between all the defenders, and it just kind of clanged off of Ronnie Bell's hands. You know, it reminds me that one of the reasons that Brock Purdy's so damn good is because he throws such a catchable football. And again, I don't want to be too critical of Brandon Allen on that play. It was a bullet that he threw. Maybe he had to throw it that hard to fit through, but it does underscore the fact that every single time that we see Brock Purdy put a receiver on, put a football in a receiver's hands, it seems to just stick to those hands because he does throw a very catchable ball, and that is a very underrated part of Brock Purdy's skill set. Isaac Yiadom, 49ers cornerback who they picked up from the Saints, who started the back half of last season, had 13 or 14 pass breakups, replacing Paulson Adebo. He's looked really, really good for San Francisco at all these spring practices, OTAs, and now into minicamp. Today he had a pass breakup covering Jawan Jennings, and he's been, Yiadom's had a very prominent role. I mentioned that Charvarius Ward and Deommodore Lenoir were watching off on the side, so they weren't participating today. And that has meant that Isaac Yiadom has been in there with the first team. And I think that we've labeled him as one of the front runners to grab an outside cornerback position for the 49ers, especially in a nickel package if Deommodore Lenoir is playing on the inside. And yeah, I mean, Yiadom has impressed. And I talked to Nick Sorensen, the 49ers new defensive coordinator, after practice, who said he shared a really, really interesting nugget about Isaac Yiadom. Back when he signed with the 49ers in March, he came into the facility. Normally a player is going to sign on the dotted line and then it's time to celebrate because you signed a new contract. Isaac Yiadom started working out right after he signed his contract with the 49ers, and that's very unusual. It's something that Nick Sorensen noted today. By the way, Rock Ya-Sin did not practice. He was limping last week. We saw at OTAs coming off the field, so we didn't see him. That's the other veteran cornerback that the 49ers picked up, so he's going to have to recover and be ready for training camp. It's going to be quite the battle at that cornerback position. Another place that is going to host a big-time battle is running back, where Cody Schrader already seems to be getting some of the work ahead of Isaac Guerendo. Now, Cody Schrader was the 49ers undrafted free agent pickup at running back. Isaac Guerendo was the 49ers drafted pickup at running back. And they have opposite profiles. Guerendo started, one college game, but has a sensational athletic profile, 4.3 speed, 220-pound weight. Schrader, meanwhile, tested very poorly. That's why he wasn't drafted, but was, a leading rusher in the SEC, maybe the best running back in the SEC. My opinion is that Schrader just looks much more natural as a pure running back than Isaac Guerendo, whereas Guerendo, former receiver, excellent athlete, he seems more like a versatile weapon for this 49ers offense than a pure running back. So it's going to be really interesting how they slot these guys into the depth chart, but I would think that somebody like Schrader's got a good chance to make this football team or at least stick in the building, whereas Isaac Guerendo, of course, he's going to make the team. I think that'd be shocking if he didn't as a higher round draft pick, but I would think that maybe earmark him for more of a kick returner role with the new rules. I talked about it with Greg Pop on the radio. Maybe ultimately he's a fullback type of weapon if he adds a few pounds but is able to keep a lot of that speed. But like Kyle Juszczyk, Isaac Guerendo has a receiver's background before he converted to running back. Juszczyk was a slot receiver at Harvard before he was a fullback, so the 49ers should have some options. And if all those options do blossom, this team has traded away running backs before. They traded away Matt Breida. They traded away Jeff Wilson Jr. Right now, Elijah Mitchell's running back too, but there is every chance if the 49ers are really stocked in that running back room that they might be able to recoup some capital for Elijah Mitchell, who is a really good back. He just has to prove that he could stay healthy a little bit more consistently. Some sights and sounds from practice. That's one thing that I really wanted to go through today. Let me flip the page here. I talked about the two summits that the 49ers had. We also saw Cam Latu doing some sprints on the side. The tight end, second-year tight end, expected to be back for the start of training camp. Malik Collins was working on the side for the 49ers. And that conversation between Deebo Samuel and Kyle Shanahan was cool. So much talk about the 49ers just disposing of players. And I think a lot of it's really premature. Deebo's got 2 more years left on his deal, and the 49ers aren't making any decisions right now. They're trying to stock this roster as much as possible. Ricky Pearsall is obviously performing really well. Brandon Aiyuk I'm about to show you the video of him working out away from the team facility. But if you have Aiyuk, Samuel, and Ricky Pearsall in the room, plus all those other weapons, you could just wait and see what happens throughout this 2024 season before you make decisions for 2025. All right, this is the last time from the stadium during this spring session. We'll see you back at Levi's, there it is behind me, for training camp, July 23rd. But for the final time, an update from here. Don't worry, the content won't stop flowing, so make sure that you hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, do whatever you do to help these videos, maybe even comment. Tell me who you think is going to win the QB2 battle. Is it going to be Brandon Allen or is it going to be Josh Dobbs? That's a good thing to leave in the comment section. We'll talk to you very soon.